Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Administrator, for being here. Thank you for all your hard work and for your years of service. I happen to believe that health care is a right and not a privilege. That it's not just for the fortunate few, but all citizens of America. Now, the Affordable Care Act is the law of the land. It was passed by the Congress, signed into law by the President of the United States, and upheld by the United States Supreme Court. There have been more than 40 attempts to repeal the act, and it did not succeed. And by attempting to repeal it, members of this body, members on the other side of the aisle, closed down this government and threatened the economy of the United States, costing us more than $24 billion. This reminds me of another period in our history, not so long ago. During the 50s, many Southern senators signed the Southern Manifesto after the Supreme Court decision of 1954. And those senators, along with many Southern governors, subscribed to the doctrine of interposition and notification, and some even massive resistance. That's what we saw on the part of the Republican members of the House and some of the Republicans in the Senate. The Affordable Care Act is working. It is helping to make health care affordable and accessible to hundreds, thousands, and millions of our citizens who never had it before. When I was growing up in rural Alabama, we couldn't afford to see a doctor. Not the poor people in Alabama, in Georgia, in Kentucky, in Arkansas, and all across the Deep South can see a doctor. We must do what is right, what is fair, and what is just. Now, Madam Administrator, I have a chart here this morning, and I want you to walk us through this chart, and I want to use my remaining time for you to explain to the members of the committee the success and the benefits of the ACA. There have been a deliberate and systematic attempt on the part of the majority in the House and the minority in the Senate to make it impossible for all Americans to receive quality health care. And some of us will not stand for it. We will stand up and fight for what is right, for what is fair, and what is just. Health care is a right and not a privilege. Walk us through the chart.
Let me start with the 78 million consumers saving $3.4 billion on their premiums. This is due to some of the work that was done around the medical loss ratio. These were benefits that actually went in forms of checks to individuals. I actually got thank you notes from people that I'd never heard of, that I'd never met, thanking me for getting some rebate back. It could go to the individual or it could go back into their premium for the following year. 17 million children with pre-existing conditions were used to be able to be denied coverage. This goes back to the flaws in the individual market that existed prior to the Affordable Care Act. 6.6 million young adults able to stay on their parents' health insurance plan. That was critical, particularly at the time with what we were going through with our economy. 7.1 million seniors in the donut hole. And let me remind you that in addition to that, you saw our release yesterday about the Part B premium being flat for next year. That is some of the work of the Affordable Care Act in controlling cost. And let me just say, going back to your point, Congressman, is that if we had the highest outcomes, if we had the lowest infant mortality, if we had the longest lifespan, maybe what we were paying would be worth it. But it's not the case. As you know, our country does not look good in terms of overall health statistics, and certainly the South is suffering from that more than the rest of the country.
Well, thank you very much. And with that, I yield back my time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Nunes.